this is Mark Swanholm, and
Sydney!
Tonight we're going to cook a delicious meal for you. We've got a Blue Apron special here, spice rub pork with sweet red onions and black beans, one of our family favorites. On the menu tonight, we've got a number of fine ingredients that we received from Blue Apron, including the red onions, some black beans, cilantro, and of course, a nice cut of pork. The first thing we have to do is wash and prepare our vegetables. So we're going to go ahead and wash the cilantro. We've got everything out here ready to go, all nicely packaged in the right proportions from Blue Apron. And we're going to get this started so we can get on to our delicious meal.
When?
After you wash your ingredients, you always want to pat them dry, so you're not getting extra moisture in your dish. All right, let's get started. The first helpful section is on preparing the ingredients. So, first thing, we're going to preheat our oven to 475 degrees to get that going. Yeah, you're going to help. Alright, while that oven's preheating, we've washed and dried the produce, and now we're going to peel that first onion. So let's clear off our work surface. And we're going to get that onion going. Alright, Sydney, which onion should we start with?
This one.
Alright, so we'll cut off both ends of the onion. And make it quick. Alright, so after we have that slit in the side, we'll just peel off that outer layer of the onion, the dried portion. And we'll discard all of that. And we'll do the same to the second onion. You can pause. Alright, now that we have that second onion peeled, we're going to cut one of them crosswise. And now we're going to cut that crosswise piece into smaller chunks that are about 1 inch across. Alright, we're going to set those aside. And this second onion, we're going to just small dice. So we're going to cut it up and make a bunch of small dices out of it. You can cut. Everything's fine? Alright. Now that we've got that onion in a nice small dice, we can put that in a bowl and set it aside. Sydney, can you help me put that onion into this bowl, please? Alright, even though these are called sweet onions, sometimes they still make you cry. Alright, we're going to the next step in our step 1 here. We also have 2 cloves of garlic, and so we're going to peel and roughly chop those as well. We've got a little bowl here for those to go in to keep that organized also. Whenever I'm mincing garlic, I like to smash it with the back side of the knife. That gets the peel off quickly and also unleashes a lot of the flavor in the garlic. How are those onions coming, Sydney? Are you crying? No? Alright. Alright, we've got the peel off. Now we're just going to finally mince that garlic to get it ready. Okay, you can turn it. Alright. That's a good fine mince on the garlic. Let's get that in a bowl also. And we'll be ready for the next step. Alright, we've gone ahead and pre-drained and rinsed the beans, the next step there. So those are already ready to go. And now we're going to finely chop that cilantro that we washed earlier. And for this particular recipe, it calls to keep the stems and the leaves in there. So we're just going to chop it all up all at once. All right. Final little bowl for that cilantro. Oh, you want to help with that? All right, if you can get the rest of that cilantro in there, Signe, that would be great. Because we're ready to go on to the next step. All right, step 2 on our spice rub pork is all about searing that pork. So we've got to get that going. We've already lined our sheet pan with foil here. That way we're not going to get any hard drippings on the pan. It'll be easier to clean up. And then we've patted dry our pork already. So we're ready to season that with spice and pepper. All right, we've got that pork. We're going to start with the salt and pepper. And we're going to season that with Signe. Would you like to sprinkle that lightly on top of the pork? Whoop, okay, we're going to spread that out a little bit. Get a nice, even, but light layer of salt on there. We're going to flip it over. And a little bit on this side. Get the fat there. So we really need to just get it over here a little bit and a little bit on the fat there. All right, let's get that rubbed in. A little bit over this side. Thank you, Signe. Great job. All right. Now, we've also got the spice blend that came with this dish. All right. So that roast pork spice blend, we're going to put a little on this side, rub that guy in nicely, make sure it's worked into the meat there. Get a little bit on the sides as well. Flip that back over and get it on that other side. All that spice on there. We want to get that well coated and nicely rubbed in kind of evenly across the entire piece of meat. All right, Signe, we are ready to get this on. We're going to come over here to our stove, and we have a nice medium pan that we're going to put this in to cook on the stovetop here. All right, we'll turn this on to a nice medium high. Let that heat up for a second. And while that's heating up, we'll get about a teaspoon of nice olive oil into the pan. Let that get hot for just a second, and we're going to get the pork right into that pan. Are you going to help me cook the pork, Signe? All right. All right, so looking at that recipe, we're going to cook this for just a few minutes on medium-high to get a nice browning on the outside of the pork. So you always want to pan sear your meats to get that nice brown outsides, and then we're going to put those into the oven to fully cook. All right. So Signe, what we want to do now that that pan is hot, we're going to get this pork with the tongs here. Now, are you ready to put that into the pan? All right. We're going to put it fat side down to start. All right. And we'll let that go for a few minutes on each side. All right. Next. All right, now that that's browned on all sides, we're going to transfer that pork over to the baking dish. And then we're going to focus on these onions. These are also going to bake, the ones we cut into the larger chunk strips, right along with that pork in the oven. So what we want to do, looking at the next step, number 3 in our Blue Apron recipe, is really get that sliced onion with a little bit of olive oil again, some salt and pepper, just toss that in this bowl. Signe, can you put in a little bit of salt and pepper, just a little sprinkle, please? All right, now we'll go ahead and toss that all together. A little bit more salt and pepper on this side. Great. Now those are going to go on the opposite side of the pan. Alright, that's it. Alright, now that those are on the pan, we're going to get those right in the oven. Signe, can you hop down? Alright, we're going to put a timer on that for about 22 minutes. Alright, so we're in step 3, but while that's happening, we're going to move on and work on step 4. So in this step 4, what we're going to do is caramelize these diced onions that we created earlier, those sweet red Italian onions. So we're going to switch this pot out right now for this guy. And we're going to heat that on medium high. Looking at our directions, we need to add the butter now. So in our knickknacks, we got a pat of butter here. So we're going to add that to the pot. Would you like to add that to the pot, Signe? All right. Here's Go ahead and put that in the pan. All right. All right, so we're gonna let that butter melt, and as soon as that's completely melted, we'll add the diced onion. That's here. Here you go. So according to the instructions, we're gonna want to stir that occasionally for about 3 to 4 minutes. Get a little bit brown and soft, and then we're going to add some brown sugar and water to help really caramelize that. So now that that butter's melted, I'm going to put those onions right in. So if you can just stir those up, keep them mixed up. You don't have to stir constantly, just make sure the butter's all over all the onions, and then let them sit for a little bit, and then so I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper there, stir that up, Signe. They're almost ready for the next step. Alright, so we're at the point where those are getting browned a little bit now, and then in step 4 it tells us to add the brown sugar, which we've got our packet of brown sugar here. Signe, if you can put that in, please make sure you get all of it in. While she's adding that, we've also gotten a half cup of water. Alright, yeah, just shake that guy, good shake, whoa. Stir that up, and I'll add the half cup of water while you do that. Alright. Some of those brown sugar clumps may need to be broken up a little bit as you stir around. Get that all well mixed up, and then this is going to cook for another 11 minutes to 13 minutes. And get that real good brown caramelized feel to it. Alright. So, while this is happening, we're going to move the onions over to another burner so that we can then work on the beans. Alright, Signe, if you can keep those stirred occasionally, right over here. I'm going to move this guy back. Now in our pan, we reserved the fond from the earlier pork searing. That means just to leave the brown bits and a little bit of oil and some of the spices that are in there, because that's going to help give some flavor to the beans when we cook them in that pot. Oh, that's all right. Don't worry. When you cook, you always get messy. That's step 5, cooking the beans while those onions are caramelizing. So we're going to get some garlic in the pan to start. We've reserved our garlic in this nice little holder, and all right, so you want to put it in, go for it, and then I'll give you a different spoon to stir the garlic with. Stir that around with this guy. There you go. There you hold that one. I'll put that one down in the spoon with, and you can stir this guy. Great. All right. A little salt and pepper in there. And we got that going. Now, after that's gotten a nice little bit of brown, very fragrant, you start to smell in the kitchen, we're going to go ahead and put those beans in. Stir those all around, get that garlic mixed up in there, Signe. Come down on the steps over the cheese. Okay, sit down, kneel down. There you go. Perfect. All right. And those are going to cook now for about 3 or 4 minutes. They're starting to break down. They're soft already. They're going to get a little smushy. Then we'll add the honey, half of that vinegar, and another half cup of water. All right. Now we're going to add half of the vinegar. We're saving half for the onions that are in the oven. But we're going to take half of this apple cider vinegar and the honey. So we'll tear open the honey. We'll go ahead and put that in. Keep stirring. We'll add the water. And again, we'll add half of this vinegar. Alright, so we'll add a little bit of salt and pepper at this point, just to make sure it's to taste. And we'll stir that occasionally for about 5 to 7 minutes. Alright, let's check on those onions while we're doing that. They're starting to turn brown, but they're not quite ready, so we're going to keep those going for a little bit longer. It's starting to smell great in here.
Okay, so done, Mother.
We've got the beans ready. We've got the caramelized onions almost done. Now it's time to check on that pork. Let's pull it out of the oven. Alright. So what we want to do is, looking at the section 3, it says the pork should be at 145 degrees. So we're going to use a meat thermometer here to test the pork and make sure it's at the right temperature. It looks like we've got a little bit more time to go. Alright, so we're going to pop that back in the oven for just a couple more minutes, and it should be right at 145. In the meantime, our caramelized onions have finished up. We'll set that aside. That's going to combine with the beans in the last step of the process. Alright, our pork should be ready now. We're going to pull that back out of the oven. Let's give it one quick test again, just to make sure. Alright, perfect. Right at 145. So, for this last step, we're going to take the pork and put it onto a meat cooked pork so it can rest for 5 minutes. You always want to let your meat rest after you cook it to let the juices pull in there and... that looks great. Alright, so we'll let that rest. Signe, can you help me? I need you to take this bowl and let's put those onions that cooked with the pork into that bowl. You can use these tongs, right? Be careful, the pan's hot, so put the bowl down here, right here on this, right here, and grab the onions. Be careful not to touch the pan. Let's get them into that bowl, okay? Yeah. Alright, Signe, now that you've got those in there, would you add the rest of this vinegar in with those onions, okay? Yeah, put all that vinegar in, and then we'll mix it up. So stir it up with the tongs. Alright. Yeah, get that all mixed up. And let that sit for a few minutes. Alright. So now, in our sixth and final section, what we're going to do is take those beans and mix them in with the caramelized onions. Okay, thank you. Alright, so we'll take those caramelized onions, just mix them right in with the beans. We're also going to add just a little bit of that cilantro that we chopped up. Not all of it, about a quarter of it, according to the Blue Apron recipe. Okay, go ahead. Alright, just a pinch of salt and pepper on this. And that looks really good. Alright, so now we're going to cut the pork. We're going to follow the grains of the meat, and we're going to cut across those grains to get the best cuts here. Alright? So we want to slice this thinly. So we get a nice tender piece on each plate. Okay. All right, now we're ready to plate. So we're going to get a little bit of the beans on one side of the plate here. Then we're going to take a couple of slices of the pork, spread that out there. And we'll top that with a bit of the grilled onions. Then we'll garnish it all with just a touch of cilantro on the top. And that's our spice rub pork with the sweet red onions and black beans. Thanks. That's good. And if you'd like, this Blue Apron wine, the Petit Paysan Riesling, is a great pairing with the spice rub pork. Enjoy!